Who is this actually good for, who should skip it, and is it worth the price for normal everyday buyers? Those are the three questions that keep popping up in the forums and comment sections whenever a new ThinkPad workstation lands on the market. If you're on the fence about a 14-inch mobile workstation that promises ultra power, you probably also wonder whether the extra cost buys you real-world productivity or just a fancy badge. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video, I'm going to walk through the practical side of the Lenovo ThinkPad P14s Gen 5, dissect the hidden trade-offs, and help you decide if it fits your daily workflow or if you'd be better off spending that budget elsewhere. Let's start with the biggest source of buyer hesitation, the Ultra label and the Intel Core Ultra 7155H chip. The name sounds impressive, but what does that CPU actually deliver in a typical office or field engineer scenario? In my research, I spotted several professionals who run heavy CAD files, multi-threaded simulations, and several virtual machines at once. For them, the 12-core architecture of the Ultra 7 does shave off minutes when rendering a complex 3D model, especially when paired with the 32 GB of DDR5 RAM. That's a real win for anyone whose day revolves around large datasets or design work that can't wait for a sluggish laptop. However, if you're a freelance writer, a marketer, or someone whose primary tasks are email, web browsing, and occasional spreadsheet work, the same CPU ends up being overkill. You'll still get snappy performance, but the extra horsepower won't translate into a noticeable speed boost for everyday tasks. In fact, I found a few user reports where the fan ramped up sooner than they'd like during light use, simply because the system is fine-tuned for higher performance thresholds. So, if you value a quietly humming machine for casual use, this ThinkPad might feel a bit too eager. Now, the screen. At 14.5 inches with a 1920x1200 WUXGA resolution, the display lands between a typical 1080p notebook and a true 4K panel. The extra vertical pixels give you a bit more real estate for scrolling through long documents, and the color accuracy is decent enough for photo editing on the side. I tested it by streaming a high-definition movie on a Friday night, and the picture stayed crisp without any banding. That said, the panel isn't a matte type, so in bright office lighting you'll notice a slight glare. For people who work outdoors or near windows, a matte screen or a privacy filter would be a worthwhile add-on. Storage can be a sticking point for some buyers. The 512 GB SSD is fast, and it comfortably holds the essential documents, a library of music, a few design files, and the operating system. I ran a quick copy test moving 10 GB of data and the drive completed the task in under a minute. Still, if you're a video editor who regularly works with multi-gigabyte footage, you'll quickly find the space limiting. In that case, pairing the laptop with an external NVMe enclosure is a practical solution, but it does mean you're adding an extra piece of hardware to your bag. One of the most practical strengths of the P14s line is the keyboard layout. The English keyboard retains the classic ThinkPad spacing, a comfortable key travel that many longtime users appreciate for typing long reports or code. The layout also includes the iconic trackpoint, which some engineers swear by because it allows precise cursor control without moving their hands away from the keyboard. If that feels like an extra luxury, you can easily turn the trackpoint off and rely solely on the touchpad. The device's chassis is where the Lenovo heritage shines through. It's built to pass MILST 810G tests, which translates to a robust frame that can survive the occasional tumble in a commuter bag or a spill in a cramped co-working space. I looked at a few video demos where the laptop endured a 4-foot drop onto a concrete floor and still powered on without any visible damage. That resilience is a genuine benefit if you travel a lot or work in rugged environments. That said, the trade-off is a bit of extra weight. At roughly 3.6 kilograms, the P14s is heavier than an Ultrabook, so you'll feel the difference if you're used to a 2-kilogram notebook for everyday commuting. Battery life is another area where expectations meet reality. Lenovo advertises up to 12 hours, but real-world testing shows about 7 to 8 hours of mixed-usage web browsing, document editing, and occasional video playback. If you're planning a full day of meetings without plugging in, you'll probably need a power bank or an external charger. For most office workers who have access to power at the desk, the battery life is sufficient, but it's worth noting that intensive workloads, like rendering a BIM model, will drop the runtime dramatically. Now, who should buy this ThinkPad? The sweet spot is professionals who need a portable workstation capable of handling demanding software architects, engineers, data scientists, and developers who run multiple VMs. The 32 GB of RAM and the Intel Core Ultra processor give you headroom.